guys, it's Will from Tested. I am, well, here in the Whiskey Media bar to answer some of your questions. That's right, it's time for another Tested mailbag. Let's get right to the first question. Assuming price wasn't much of a factor, would doing a RAID 0 with two 256 gigabyte SSD drives, so that there's a redundancy there, be a safe performance increase for my desktop? I figure the SSD drives are more durable than a hard disk drive, and they'll be way faster. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with no moving parts, the SSDs theoretically should be less likely to fail. The question is, you know, it's a relatively new technology, especially at a kind of consumer level, so it's unclear how long these are going to last. And of course, if you're in a RAID 0 situation, you double your chances of failure of data loss due to drive failure. So, you know, you're still going to be in the same kind of doubling the data loss chance situation. Whether or not it actually affects you or not remains to be seen. I feel like SSDs are probably more reliable than traditional hard drives. However, when you do RAID SSDs, you run into some problems where like trim doesn't work and things like that. So you have to have the right drive controller, a RAID controller rather, to make sure that the kind of drive maintenance stuff that's necessary for SSDs is taken care of. The next question is about Danish People. Hey Will, what's with the Danish People and how do I get in on that action? Is there a Scanlon family reunion? No, actually, what happened was we do this kind of occasionally. This seems to be the furthest anybody's ever come, but if students or school groups or something like that wants to see what it's like to work at Whiskey Media, we're happy to give tours and explain what exactly it is we do and kind of like what career path different people went on and stuff like that. It's kind of a vocational thing usually. So if you have a school group that might be interested in coming into journalism, you know, doing journalism, video production, programming, that kind of stuff, check our about page at whiskeymedia.com and contact our people there and they'll set something up if the timing works for us and you and all that. I have the latest version of Firefox, and whenever I try to access a Java-based website, numerous security warnings pop up saying that the website would like to use an older version of Java, and my computer may not be safe. What is happening? Probably what that means is, you know, Firefox and Java are two different things. It's like Firefox and Flash are two different things. You have to keep Firefox updated, you have to keep Flash updated, you also have to keep Java updated. The updates for Java are a little bit more infrequent than the Flash updates, but it's still, you know, keep that stuff updated. And you can do that either, usually there's a control panel entry or a program menu entry for Java, depending on whether you're in OS 10 or Windows. And it just runs an update program. You can even set it to automatically update and just run in the background and it won't bother you, which is what I generally do. The next question is about netbooks. I love the feel of my Asus EEPC 1005HA's chiclet keyboard, but I haven't ever found a USB keyboard with a similar feel. Might you have any suggestions? The closest I could find might be the DOS keyboard, but that's very expensive at $130. I haven't actually used the Asus 1005 EEPC. If I recall correctly, I remember seeing it, it is a Mac-style chiclet keyboard. Apple sells a Bluetooth wireless keyboard that has the chiclets. I don't know of any others that are chiclet style keyboards. The DOS is good. It's more of a traditional action though, kind of like an old IBM keyboard or something like that with a really long throw. Typically the chiclet keyboards, you know, you press the key a quarter of an inch and it works. The longer throw are a little bit further and they're a little clickier usually. The DOS, at least the DOS that I have, is very clickety-clackety, which I like. The people around you may not though. Here's the big question. What is the best/fastest processor you can buy? And what kind of socket would be required? I currently have a quad-core CPU and was wondering how the market has grown since I upgraded to one several years ago. The fastest thing out there right now are the 6-core Intel 980X Core 2 quad, hexa-core machines. I guess they're not called Core 2 quads. But basically, it is 6 CPU cores on one piece of silicon with two threads per core because hyperthreading is turned on. They're super fast, great for audio video encoding. Lots of other stuff won't actually take advantage of that extra speed. So it's a great thing to have if you do a lot of video editing, video transcoding, photo editing, raw stuff. things that really take advantage of multiple threads. If you're just playing games, you're probably never ever going to know that you have 6 cores in there. So just something to keep in mind. Oh, and it's socket 1366, which is Intel's high-end triple channel memory CPU chipset, the current hotness, as it were. Hey Will, I know this isn't dog fancy, but as the owner of an internet famous corgi, is there any doggy tech that you are a big fan of? Have you tried the Go Dog Go, the automatic ball thrower? Non-humiliating ways to deal with waste? Yeah, I haven't done a lot of dog tech stuff. It's kind of an interesting question. I've always wanted one of those bark translator though, because with Chloe as a kind of a barking dog, I would love to know what she's trying to say if those things actually work. Dog waste, I've been looking into a bunch of composting solutions these days because you're not kind of supposed to throw dog poop in the trash. You're not supposed to bury it in coastal areas because it gets into groundwater. I don't know what the good solution is there. Basically, I've been looking at this big tank thing that's about this big around, and you scoop the poop up and dump it in there and then put some lye or something in, and it kind of breaks down over a period of weeks, and dirt comes out the bottom. Not sure how comfortable I am with that. It sounds a little gross. Maybe I'll test it out and let you guys know how it goes. On the toy front, Chloe is a very easy dog to entertain. If I put her in the backyard with a ball that she can nose around, she will chase it like a lunatic for 30, 45 minutes until she's too tired to go on. So haven't had to fool with automatic dog launchers or anything like that. She's a pretty easy dog to tire out because her legs are about that long. This is a good question. I don't know the answer to this. Maybe somebody in the audience does. If I buy an enclosure for my PS3 hard drive, will I be able to transfer my saves from that hard drive to my computer, then back to my new PS3? I honestly don't have any idea on that. The PS3 hard drive does not use a standard connector, so you'd have to take it. Oh wait, hold on. That's the Xbox hard drive. The PS3 hard drive is just a normal loose hard drive, isn't it? I don't know. It would be interesting to test out. I've never plugged a PS3 hard drive into a PC. I would assume it has a file format that probably Windows can't see, so you'd have to do the transfers from PS3 to hard drive. See, if you do the enclosure, then the data's on the hard drive, so you'd actually just plug that external enclosure into the new PS3 and then copy the stuff over from there. I don't know if the enclosure will work with the drive. We'd have to try it out. I have a PS3 here. Maybe we can test it out and see how it goes, and if it works, I'll do a little quick how-to video. Will, what would you recommend as the best free, capital F-R-E-E, solution for remote access software? Log Me In, TeamViewer, or something else? If you have the right version of Windows, this isn't necessarily free, but it's kind of. If you have the right version of Windows, then it comes with a remote desktop connection host. So that is Windows XP Pro and above. Windows XP Pro. I can't remember on Vista because it's really confusing. I think it's just the business and ultimate versions of Vista. And then on Windows 7, it is anything above Pro. So Pro, Business, Enterprise, and Ultimate all have remote desktop host. That's built in. It works really well. You'll have to forward a port on the router for the machine that you're trying to connect to. So I think it's port 3356 or something like that. If you just search for remote network connection port and go to portforward.org and check it out there, it'll actually even tell you how to change that on your router. Beyond that, I've used Ultra VNC before. It's been really good. I've never used I've used Log Me In. I haven't used it recently enough to say whether I like it or not, and I'm not familiar with the other product that you mentioned, TeamViewer. But there's kind of a difference between remote desktop lets you take over and leaves the other person like looking at a login screen. Ultra VNC lets you kind of screen share more like Log Me In, the way Log Me In works. So I would try Ultra VNC. It's free. It's a little tricky to configure, but it is super duper free, and I know Log Me In is kind of always trying to sell you to the upgraded model. Hijack the Pants wants to know, I'm coming into a bit of free money for the month of November, and I'm currently deciding on what I should do. Should I buy a shiny new video card for my gaming PC, buy an iPad, or just make myself a massive Thanksgiving Day parade float? Suggestions or ideas? I mean, it depends on what you're going to use more. If you feel like having a tablet type computer is good, buy the iPad. If you play a lot of games and your video card is old and you haven't turned down settings and stuff like that, buy the video card. I like the Thanksgiving Day parade float idea, though. I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think you should make a testament to technology and nerdery and enter that in the Thanksgiving Day parade. The next question is about Windows Phone 7. I've been really excited about Windows Phone 7, but I'm on Verizon. While I know that thing was announced, what do you think the chances are that Windows Phone 7 will come to Verizon in the next 4 to 6 months? If not, how good is the service of T-Mobile compared to Verizon? T-Mobile, in my experience, is pretty good in cities, not so good outside of major urban areas and off of freeways. So if you live away from a freeway or a major urban area, T-Mobile may not be for you. So in that regard, outside of San Francisco and New York, T-Mobile is worse than AT&T. Do I think Windows Phone 7 is coming to Verizon? Probably. I would be surprised if it's available on Verizon before Christmas, given that they weren't at the launch event. It's possible that there's some sort of Kin hangover, because Verizon was the launch partner for Kin, and that was a massive failure. It could also be that Verizon feels good with the investment they've made in Android and doesn't want to have to support another platform. So I don't know. AT&T has been kind of slow supporting Android, so it's very possible that they've decided to go the Windows route. Verizon's going the Android route, and we'll see how it all shakes out in the end. I probably wouldn't wait for Verizon Windows Phone 7 if you're interested in getting Windows Phone 7. This comes from Ventilator. Half my laptop screen is dark. Whenever I push on the left edge of the screen just slightly, the picture comes back. WTF period. You have a bad connector either in the hinge of the laptop or on the edge of the screen where it comes in. My suggestion would be to either find a replacement screen and kind of figure out how to replace it yourself, or take it someplace that they will fix it for you in exchange for money and or goods and services. Alternately, you could just get like a clamp and clamp that side of the screen down. That seems like a bad idea, though. I get this question a lot. Where do you guys buy your shirts? They are hella awesome. We buy them from the internet. I usually go shopping at Comic-Con. I didn't go this last year, so my stock is a little bit low. I also get shirts at all sorts of places online. Threadless, Gamma Go, Urban something or other, I never can remember the name of that one. Designed by Humans, occasionally shirt.woot.com. What else? I mean, there's a bunch of different places that we get good t-shirts. I basically just watch a bunch of t-shirt blogs, and when I see something that I like, I bust out the credit card and order it in. The next question is about fights. Who would win in a fight, Anna or Norm? I'm going to take the Chicago Bears versus Chicago Bulls approach and say that kind of fight would be so damaging to the core structure of the universe that we would see the reversal of time and the eventual heat death of the universe should Norm and Anna fight. So let's hope that never happens. Hey Will, I want to get a new gaming mouse. I've been thinking about trying to find a wireless one because of the convenience with my laptop, but my MMO addiction also makes me want the Razer Naga. Do you have any suggestions? Well, it's amazing, I do. I don't generally like wireless mice for gaming just because the battery thing is a hassle. It's kind of always back and forth. I don't mind the wire that much. If you do mind the wire, then they just came out with a wireless Naga today. I saw the announcement come across my desk this morning. So check that out. I haven't actually tested that mouse. I'm not enough of an MMO player to feel like I could accurately review that. I mean, I've played WoW. I can't imagine what I would do with 25 buttons or whatever that thing has. It's crazy. But there you have it. Wireless Naga is out. I really not a huge fan of wireless gaming mice, but to each his own. If you wanted to give it a try, let us know how it goes for you. Star Trek or Star Wars? I gotta go Wars. I mean, Trek is good. I enjoy Trek. I like a good Trek movie as much as the next guy. I watched all the TOS and most of TNG, kind of skipped DS9, watched a little bit of Voyager until I got pissed off at that. Never looked at Enterprise. So I feel like I'm pretty representative of a normal Star Trek fan. I just like Star Wars better. I grew up with Star Wars. I was playing with those toys when I was 6 years old, and I mean, Star Wars was a transformative experience for me. Star Trek was something that kind of creepy old dudes were into when those movies first started coming out. And I didn't get into that until I was pretty much, until TNG came out and I was a little bit older. What is the best Android phone that won't break the bank? It's difficult to say without knowing how big your bank is. Pretty much all of the super phones, you know, the 800, the larger high-resolution screens with 1 gigahertz processors, half a gig of memory, a decent amount of onboard storage, are all $500 or $600 off contract, and usually $199 to $299 on contract, depending on really what's happening in the market at any given time. I mean, I wouldn't advise buying one of the cheaper Android phones like the Area or the whatever the T-Mobile one is called. I never can remember. It's like the original Desire or something like that. I mean, the way I look at it, you're buying the phone, you're paying, when you buy that phone, you're locked into a data plan that's $40 a month. So that means you're paying essentially $2,000 over the life of that phone for the phone. So when you look at paying $200 upfront for a contract versus $500 upfront for a contract versus the total cost of ownership of that phone over 2 years that it's on contract, I mean, buy the best thing you can get at the time you're spending that money, because you're gonna have to live with it for a long time. And 2 years from now, at the pace at which these phones are advancing, you know, your $500 phone from 2 years ago is going to be out of date. So think of what a $200 phone from 2 years ago is gonna look like in comparison. And if you can't afford the larger one, then probably you shouldn't be paying $40 a month for the data plan either, to be perfectly honest. This is actually a really good question about international traveling and living. When I graduate this May, I'll be teaching English in Japan for a few years. Can you recommend a good international phone? Are there phones that can be used for calling in both Japan and back in the USA? That might be a stupid question. It is not. So for the most part, with few exceptions, the entire world uses GSM technology, which is what AT&T and T-Mobile use in the United States. There are multiple bands of GSM frequencies that are used around the world. I think it's like 1900 megahertz, 800 megahertz, and then a couple others. I can't remember them all. If you want to use your phone internationally, the best thing to do is get a GSM phone, which also means that those have SIM cards. So you can take the SIM card out, put the SIM card back in. And the SIM cards are specific to the vendor. So you'll have an AT&T SIM card for use in the US, and whatever the Japanese 3G provider is, GSM provider is, for when you're in Japan. That prevents you from having to pay international rates when you're in Japan calling people in the United States. Hold on. That prevents you having to pay international rates when you're in the United States calling people in the United States, and the same thing in Japan. There's a couple things to make sure. You want to have a quad band phone to use in the world if you're doing GSM, for sure. You can also buy Verizon phones that have a GSM radio and SIM card slot to take internationally. And then the last thing is you want to make sure that that phone is unlocked, which means you can use a SIM card that's not provided by the company that you bought the phone from. It's really important that you specify that up front. You're probably going to have to pay more for it. Typically, you can't buy the unlocked phones on contract because they don't want you to buy the phone, cancel the contract, pay the $150 early termination fee, and then use the phone on a competitor's network. So, for example, in the US, it's really hard to buy an unlocked iPhone. You have to go through kind of gray market channels where people jailbreak it for you. The Samsung phones, the Galaxy S phones, you can get them unlocked now, I believe. I think Amazon is a pretty good place to buy those. I've never actually done it. If people have experience with this in the chat, I would love to hear what they say, because I don't travel internationally that much anymore, unfortunately. This is a question about Kinect. Are you at all excited for Kinect, and will you be taking one apart when it comes out? We'll definitely take it apart. That's a crazy question to ask. I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, I'm very excited in Dance Central. I really had a good time playing that the couple of times I've had a chance. It seems like the kind of thing that, like, when we have people over at the house, it'll be a good party game. I don't really see myself like working through a solo campaign or anything like that on that, because I'm not much of a dancer. But, you know, for drinking and playing games, it's not a bad kind of game. I'm not really excited about the other stuff. I know my wife is pretty stoked about some of the fitness apps. She thinks that they'll be interesting. I'm not the market for that kind of thing. And I'm really excited about Children of Eden. I think that's interesting. I'm more interested in that technology because it's something new. It's also a higher opportunity for failure. I mean, in order for that to succeed, it has to be really super fluid, really smooth, easy to play. Like that technology can't get in the way of you playing games, and I'm worried that it will. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to take a look at it. We'll treat it the same way we did the Move when it comes out, and do like a full, quick look, first look review process on it. I loved hearing about Minecraft on the podcast the other day. Why keep it all the way at the end like some sort of dirty secret? I mean, it's a tech podcast, and then while Minecraft is definitely technology and all that, it's a little bit off topic, I think, for what we do. If you guys don't think that, post in the comments, let us know. We'll move it back into the regular bit. I'm super intrigued by it. I don't know how long that's going to last. The stuff that folks are building in there is absolutely fucking incredible. The amount of time being spent on that server astounds me and humbles me. So yeah, I mean, I think it's super cool. Definitely keep. If you want to hear more about it, let us know and we'll talk about it some more. And check out the server. I know it seems to be running a lot better these days. So, and that wraps it up for this week's edition of the Tested Mailbag. As always, if you have questions, go to formspring.me/tested. I'll put it down right here, probably maybe over here. I don't know. It's somewhere in this general vicinity. And I'll answer them, or maybe Norm or someone else. Maybe, who knows, we might get a special guest mailbag answerer person. So for Tested, I'm Will. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week.